How's it going, y'all? Welcome to the Green Dream Project. We'd like to invite you in on our property. We've been living off-grid here in the Arizona desert at the foothills of the mountains now for 4 years. We've been surviving out here in the desert in what's considered one of the harshest climates you can probably homestead in. And we've been doing it now for 4 years. It's crazy. Now, we purchased our land in 2014. Of course, we didn't move out here right away. We lived and worked in the city, and we waited until the time was right to finally pull the trigger. It seems like forever ago, but I guess it's only been 4 short years. But in the meantime, we have been busy. So come on, check out our 40 acres out here, and let's show you what we've been up to. Now, one of the first steps in us trying to live out here in the desert, live a more self-sufficient lifestyle, is we needed a place to live in. And one of the first things we ended up doing was moving a fifth wheel out here for us to live in. I think we could have constructed a shelter or had like some kind of shed or something to live in, or like a tiny house, but all these options seem to take up a lot of time and a lot of expense. Whereas we picked this up on the fly for a pretty reasonable price.
Yep, and it's a ready-made home.
A nice kind of comfortable living area for us to kind of set up and start building out our homestead from here. So it's been, well, actually over 4 years living in this thing, because we probably lived in this thing for months before we actually moved out here, right?
Yeah, we did. We lived at an RV park while we were getting some of the preliminary things set up here on the property.
So what's it been like living in this for over 4 years now?
Honestly, I've gotten used to it. We went from like a over 2,000 square foot home to what is this, like maybe 300 square feet of living space. So we had to downsize quite a bit. Not quite as comfortable as a regular house. It's kind of just a nice kind of temporary living space.
When we decided to do this, we knew it was going to be kind of tough living. We're going to have to rough it a bit. And RV living kind of does that. It's a tight space, a couple people, and a dog, a big dog, by the way. It makes for cramped quarters. But when we finally finish our regular house, it'll seem like a mansion compared to how we've been living. So speaking of the house we're building, let's show you that. So while we're living in that RV, we're taking our time and we are building our own dream home out of earth bags. This is a project that could take us, I don't know, years to fully build. I mean, it's just the two of us out here working and building this home, so it's taken some time already. And we've completed 2 underground portions and this earth bag dome right here. I think building with earth bag has been something we've been dreaming about for maybe close to a decade. And it has been an absolute joy to be working on this, to be out on our land, building our house. And building with earth bags has been just so appropriate for this climate.
Like all the planning that we've done on the house is a big part of how we're trying to think long term about how we're gonna live and survive in this climate. We want to be able to make it, and we want to be able to live comfortably too.
Yeah, I mean, the way we're building, you know, we've often been criticized that, you know, it takes a while. You could have set up something maybe that costs more money, but you could have done it quicker. But I mean, this is so appropriate for our budget because it has not been very expensive. And you know, we didn't want to set something up that would require a whole lot of energy to like cool in the summer and heat in the winter. And we really think that this is going to be so appropriate for us. And it really gives us that opportunity to just allow our creative juices to flow and create a space that we want to live in that's right for us. You've had a number of opportunities where you could just kind of let those creative passions flow. Some of the work that you've done on those bottle windows has just been absolutely amazing.
There's going to be plenty more opportunities to make this house uniquely ours. You know, not just making it fit our environment, but making it fit our individual lives as well. That's a really awesome thing about building your own house and building in the way that we're building.
Yeah, this is definitely our dream, and it could take a while to build, but we are in it for the long haul, and we definitely want it to be something that we're proud of, and it's our own space. So it'll be cool watching this thing develop over time. Should we take them inside?
Yeah.
All right, come on, y'all. We're literally just standing outside the door, and it's warm out there. It's almost 90 degrees, right? Meanwhile, it's 75 degrees inside here, and it just feels amazing. It doesn't look pretty yet. Most of the bags are still exposed. Obviously, we still got to get in here, and we got a lot of work to do on the inside. Well, there's a lot of work to do on any side. It's still amazing just to stand here and be in this space, and it has a different kind of energy, a different kind of feel to it. We really wanted to be as efficient as possible with some of the things we did out here. Obviously, we needed to dig into the earth for the material we need, and we didn't want to just create these large holes on the property. So we opted to utilize those spaces to make a couple of underground rooms, and then we'd build on top of that. These domes have a lot of headspace, so what do you do with that? So we built a loft kind of about halfway through the dome to kind of take advantage of some of that space toward the top. But I think one of my favorite aspects of this is the underground bedroom that we're gonna have. All right, y'all, let's head down to the underground bedroom. I promise we'll only have to enter it like this for a little while. Eventually it'll be easier. We'll have to like kind of back up down there. Uh-oh, can't see nothing yet. I'll tell you, this is one of the spaces I'm most excited about personally. And I'll tell you, as cool as the temperature is on the upper part, this underground cylinder room is even cooler than that. So yeah, how do you feel down here?
It's nice. I think it'll be nice sleeping temperature.
Is it? Like, it's not gonna be too cold for you, is it?
I don't think so. And we've been kind of tracking the temperatures in the dome since we finished building and closed things up, and it's kind of interesting to see, like, over the winter it was quite a bit warmer down here than outside where we live. Temperatures might get down to like the 20s, sometimes the teens in the winter, and it stayed around 50 degrees.
Yep.
Down here.
Pretty solid, pretty stable.
It'll be nice, and then in the summer it's a lot cooler.
So it'll take a bit to finish off this space as well. Obviously we still got a lot of work to do everywhere around here, but I'm really excited about the possibilities down here.
I think it'll make a good shelter from the elements.
Yeah. Very windy up there today, but completely closed off from the outside world down here.
Yeah, it could be like a bomb shelter.
So we have spent a lot of time and energy setting up infrastructure for rainwater harvesting. We didn't want to spend a bunch of money right at the beginning of this trying to drill a well, and with no guarantees we'll even hit water. I mean, we could be spending tens of thousands of dollars, and then if you don't hit water, you're SOL. So to us, it just wasn't a gamble we wanted to do when we knew we could get an average of 13 inches of rain a year, which doesn't sound like a lot, but we've been able to do it. We've been able to harvest just about all the water we need. So one of the first things we did out here was we built a huge sort of like rain roof type thing, which we could collect rain off of, but also just a way for us to kind of get out of the intense desert sun. This roof is 20 feet by 110 feet. It is over 2,100 square feet of catchment, which can get us 1,000 gallons of water for every inch of rainfall. It has been super helpful. Now we got a couple of poly tanks in the back over there, which really kind of set us up for the water we need.
Then we upgraded our water storage, and we actually built a cistern that's partially underground. We used earth bags, and we surrounded the whole thing with this gabion, the rocks, and put ferro cement top on it, and that holds quite a bit more water. And it also can collect some water from the roof of the cistern as well.
And so this thing goes 5 feet underground, 3 feet above ground, has a 17-foot interior diameter. This thing holds almost 14,000 gallons of water. So in between this and the poly tanks and all of our other water storage, it pretty much gives us nearly 20,000 gallons of water storage out here. It's incredible.
And as we build more things, we're just gonna continue adding to that storage as well.
Absolutely. We'll be harvesting water off of just about every surface and storing it all around the property.
I don't think there's a whole lot of people who are living in the desert that are just living off of rainwater, but we've proven it to ourselves that it can be done. It takes a little planning, it might take a little extra work, but for us, I mean, it works.
So instead of spending tens of thousands of dollars on a well with no guarantee of water, I mean, here we can use that money for more infrastructure, building roofs or other things to catch water off of. So it can be multi-purpose, not just have that one purpose. And that's the way we have to think out here when we're trying to think sustainability. How can you stack those functions? How can you get more uses, especially when you have to put money down on it? How can you make that dollar stretch even further?
Yeah.
All right, y'all. So water is just, it's probably our most important lifeline. But let's check out the solar, which has really been a big boon for us living off grid. So our solar setup, probably not essential for life. I mean, you could probably do without electricity, but for us it's been amazing. For us, it kind of allowed us some of those creature comforts that we got used to from living in the city. It allowed us to be a little bit more comfortable, and we can run air conditioning. It allows us to have a refrigerator going. Out here in southeast Arizona, if we're gonna have a power source, getting it from something as abundant as the sun just seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah, it's sunny almost every day here.
Why not take advantage of that to give us the energy? I mean, we don't have a huge setup out here, but it's very efficient. 15 panels gives us just about all the energy we need. But I mean, with just the two of us out here, it has been more than enough energy for what we need. This is definitely one of those projects where I want to kind of get back into. When we kind of decided on the solar setup, we weren't sure exactly where the house was going to end up being. So I kind of created this as sort of like a temporary stand to hold the solar panels. But now it's like the perfect place for where our house is located. So I need to kind of get back in here, kind of build a more permanent stand, something a little bit more stable. But as sketchy as this thing's built, it's stood up to some pretty tough winds. Okay, let's take them inside. Let's show them the shed. Now this is one of our first builds. This was like a solar shed. It's kind of meant to house our solar equipment. We used like a fiber adobe technique, which is just basically mud and shredded paper. And it was a fun technique to kind of play around with, but ultimately the walls are pretty thin. So I mean, with like 6-inch dirt walls, there really isn't enough thermal mass to really regulate the temperature all that much. But I think at some point maybe I'll make the roof a little larger, maybe make the walls a little thicker, maybe I'll add some straw bales around the outside to help regulate the temperature. And I think it'll be a pretty nice space eventually. Should we show them the equipment?
Yeah.
So you can hear the equipment humming along. That's because we got the AC running in the RV. I mean, the system's amazing. So we got the AC running, we got a refrigerator running, a freezer running, a couple of fans. You can see we're pulling about 1,500 watts right now, which isn't bad, and you know, our batteries are still full. It's not even taxing the system. But you can see we got our charge controller right here, which helps regulate the batteries. We actually have 2 inverters that are stacked. When one inverter starts to draw too much energy, the other inverter will turn on as a backup. So that gives us about 7,000 watts of power that we can run at any given time. I think it's about 13,000 kind kind of like startup watts. But we got here, which is like a little special combiner box for the batteries. So all that solar goes to charge up these batteries. Then that power flows through the combiner box into the inverters, which goes into another little combiner box over here, which flows into the panel, which our RV is connected up into, and the motorhome and all of that. So it's a pretty nice little system. And of course the batteries we have used for this whole system are actually used Tesla batteries from a Tesla car. So lithium ion batteries that we can mount directly to the wall of the shed. Saves a lot more space. I really love this setup. And of course these Tesla batteries gives us about 20 kilowatt hours worth of storage, which has been more than enough for us getting us through the night or through those cloudy days. Plenty of storage, and using the used batteries were a lot cheaper than having to buy new ones. Alright, now this is the area we affectionately call the hacienda. This is sort of like our composting station. We use it to compost all of our food scraps, a lot of our organic matter, all of our so-called waste. All that gets composted here. We make quite a bit of compost for just a couple of people. As you can see, we have one bin sitting waiting to get compost while the other one we're adding to, and it provides quite a bit of composted material here. Being out here in the desert, I opted for a larger roof over the whole composting station, which not only shades our compost, but allows us to collect more water off of the surface as well. 160 square feet, it's not a whole lot, but as you can see, we have 2 IBC totes attached to this roof. And during a good monsoon season, it will fill up and overflow. So, and that's the idea here about like kind of living in the desert. We collect as much rainwater as we can off of every surface that we can think of. And if we can, we'll create more surfaces to collect some more water off of. We got to take advantage of those opportunities when we can. Don't discount it. It's a small roof, but it gets us a lot of water. So you wanted to talk about the mulch basins. We were talking about rainwater harvesting, and you was like, we got to talk about the mulch basins.
That was actually the first thing we made technically out here.
Yeah.
And it's all about how we use our water. So we have a gray water system. All of our used water goes into a mulch basin where waters the tree, and it's just a way to use water more efficiently.
All of our gray water from the camper goes out to this beautiful desert willow tree. And this time of year, it's just amazing. The flowers are in bloom, and it looks absolutely beautiful. It looks so beautiful and healthy, and you could tell it's getting so much nourishment from all this water that it gets from the RV, and it is stunning. So living out here in the desert, you got to take advantage and not only collect the water you can, but find multiple ways of using it. Not only are we using it inside, but then it waters the plants. We got to go through multiple cycles before just letting it go back into the earth, and that's one of the big things about rainwater harvesting. People say like, oh, well, rainwater harvesting, that's going to take water out of the cycle, and you're going to deplete groundwater that way.
We get a lot of dry periods of the year, and then all the rain comes at once.
So many millions of gallons of water are falling on the ground, and in the desert, you're going to get much more evaporation on that water and water runoff. There's no way the desert soil can absorb that much water. So by collecting that water, harvesting that rain, it's allowing that water to get used and slowly seep back into the environment.
If we can hold that water in the ground for longer and collect it, that will be much better in the long run. So that's what we're trying to do with the gray water system. We use the water carefully, and then it goes into a basin. There's mulch in there. It keeps that moisture in there for longer, and it kind of stretches it out for longer, and it gets used. And it benefits the wildlife too.
Oh, absolutely. So this is our garden space. It's also the area where we keep our chickens, right back there. We don't get to grow a ton of food in here. It's a kind of a small garden, but we like to affectionately call this our sort of like our learning garden. This is kind of like our classroom for kind of learning how to grow in this environment. What do we got growing on in here?
There's lavender, there's some comfrey, onions, there's lots of parsley, a lot of different kind of herbs like mint, chives. We got prickly pear and a grapevine, and we even got a mulberry tree in here.
I think it's kind of cool. We got a lot of like little different things kind of growing on in here, but it's definitely given us you know, kind of an idea of like some things that will grow well, some things that haven't grown well. We've tried a bunch of different permaculture type techniques in here, including sunken beds, Oya pots for underground watering.
Yep, and lots of mulch.
And we've had some really good successes, some not so good, but it's really been a learning experience. And I can't wait until we can kind of like ramp things up in the future, and that might be coming sooner rather than later.
Yeah, absolutely. But growing out here, it's going to be quite different than in other places. I found absolutely we needed an enclosed garden.
I think that was one of the big lessons out here. It's just in the desert where food is so scarce, anything you start growing, it really becomes a target for animals and insects and all kinds of things.
Yep. And also you need shade, because a lot of plants need direct sunlight, but with so much sun that we get and the heat and intense UV, it can be a little much for plants in the summer, so you do need a little more shade for them.
And of course you gotta love the chickens. I mean, not only are they great to have around, they're just kind of fun to watch, but they really kind of supplement our eggs.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really nice just coming out here, getting some fresh eggs, knowing that they're way more nutritious than anything you could buy at the store.
Absolutely, and I'm sure they take care of some of the bugs in the area, which is probably good for the garden too.
Absolutely. Farm fresh bud nuggets. So I thought we'd end this up inside the dome, mainly because it is hot out there and it is nice and cool in here. 4 years, it seems like forever, and it also seems like such a short amount of time. Sometimes it's like I wish we had gotten more done, and then sometimes it's like I can't believe how much we have gotten done in this time.
It's been a tremendous amount of work and planning, and there's so much more to come.
4 years off grid. You know, we're trying to be more self-sufficient out here, and we're not where we want to be, but it's obviously a journey. It's a journey that is going to take a long time to really get things set up. And you know, people question why we've chosen such a harsh environment to do this in, and you know, part of it is, well, one, cheap land. Probably a few places cheaper than the desert when buying land here in the US. But also it's a great opportunity to kind of use the techniques we've learned to try and stop and maybe even reverse some of the desertification we're seeing out here.
Mm-hmm. The way the environment looks here now, it didn't used to look that way. There used to be a lot more diversity, but because it is a little more fragile, because it doesn't get as much rain, you know, any kind of disturbances, especially like when humans come in and they're doing their thing and they're not thinking long term how they're impacting the environment, it tends to damage things and it's difficult to reverse. So in order to do that, we really have to put in that effort, and that's what we want to try to do here.
So coming up, I mean, obviously we're going to be doing a lot more work on this house, but man, it's amazing already. Yeah, I really want to get more into some earthworks and not only catching the rain and holding it in containers, but capturing that rain and storing it in the ground and planting more trees. So that's what I'm excited about. Mm-hmm. What are you excited about coming up?
Plants and animals.
Plants and animals. Absolutely. More focus on growing our own food, raising our own food. You've really been busy these past 2-3 weeks working on a permaculture design for our property.
Yes. We've already done a lot of planning before we even moved out here, but after we moved out here and we've been living on the land for a while, kind of evaluating how things are, what it's like, and different changes in our lives, then we've had to kind of make tweaks to our initial plans. So I've been working on that and just kind of laying out how everything's going to come together.
So thanks a lot to our regular viewers for taking this little break with us and kind of reviewing some of the things that we've done out here, just celebrating with us our 4-year off-grid anniversary. And to all the new viewers that might be watching this, thanks for checking us out, and stay tuned because there is so much coming down the pipeline, and you got to see how this house all comes together. All right, y'all. Thank you for watching, and we'll catch you on the next video. Bye.